Today we're talking about prolapse, specifically things I want you to know if you have been recently diagnosed with a pelvic organ prolapse. I am a physical therapist. I also was diagnosed with multiple prolapse. I lived with them for 7 years before having surgery a few years ago. So whatever you feel, whatever you're going through, I promise I understand. So there's 4 different pieces of advice I have for you when you start out. 1, remember there is hope, okay? Write that down. Remember it. Put it in your memory. There is hope. I want you to get out of the forums for now. I want you to get off of Google for now. There is so much discouraging and defeating information out there that will make you feel like your life is over, that your activities are over, and that is not true. I promise you there is hope to get back to what you love to do, to get back to your life, to feel confident in your body again. Okay, so for now, I want you off of the forums, I want you off of Google, and I want you to find a few trusted sources to give you true information. One of those things to know is that for many, many, many women, prolapse will resolve with pelvic floor physical therapy, with specific exercises, and simply with time. So typically we see prolapse in 2 situations, 1 after giving birth, and 2 later in life after we go through menopause and our hormones change. Of course, there's other situations that prolapse occur, and this will apply to that as well. But the 2 most common situations are after birth and then later in life after we go through menopause. So we have grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and grade 4 prolapse we can be diagnosed with. Most of the time, grade 1 and grade 2, we will deal with through pelvic floor physical therapy, through exercise, through lifestyle management. If you have grade 1 and grade 2 right now, I don't even want surgery on your thoughts. Get rid of it. Get it out of your mind. It's most likely not something you're going to have to think about at all, okay? So that's one thing to know. They can resolve. It can get better. Grade 3 and grade 4 is a little bit different. Typically, that's not going to improve a lot with physical therapy and those things, but again, you can still manage it with lifestyle, and then you can decide later on if surgery is appropriate. But if you are just diagnosed, typically this is not something you have to decide right now, okay? You have time. So that's my first piece of advice. Remember, there's hope, okay? Get out of the discouraging places. Find yourself in a place where you have very specific steps you can follow to help you feel better. So number 2, the next step in that is to surround yourself with a team of professionals who are going to help. Typically, my first recommendation for that is finding a pelvic floor physical therapist. Many times you can just Google pelvic floor physical therapist in my area, and you can look to see who's available. That means it's a physical therapist who is trained to do internal work to help assess what's going on with your pelvic floor, help assess a prolapse, and give you really specific advice and exercises to help. Many times you can go 3 visits, 4 visits, maybe even 5 visits, and that might be all you need for now. So I highly, highly, highly recommend you see a pelvic floor physical therapist. The second person I want you to put on your radar is a urogynecologist. Now, most likely you were diagnosed, either you diagnosed yourself through Google, which is common, or through your OBGYN. That's how I was diagnosed. I researched on Google and said, what's going on? This is really strange down there. Went to see my OB who said, yep, I think that's what you have. Here's a pessary, good luck. That's what I was told. And that's what I was told for 7 years by my OB. It wasn't on any fault of their own, but I didn't even know that I could see a urogynecologist to get more specific information. When I finally did, my eyes were so open to find out what was actually going on. So the pelvic floor physical therapist is going to be necessary. It's going to help you so much to know what's happening, to give you exercises that you need. Then down the line, I recommend seeing a urogynecologist if it doesn't resolve or if you want more information. A urogynecologist is the person who specializes in prolapse, okay? And many times you can ask your OB for recommendations for both of those. So that's your second piece of advice. Find a team. In addition to those 2 people, you can find people like me online. I do virtual consults throughout the week for women going through just this exact same thing to talk you through exercise, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what's happening, what you're feeling, all of those things. If you find out surgery is something you need, I talk with women through what to do before surgery, what to do after surgery. So I'll put the link below for that as well, but I do individual consults, and that can be someone else that can be really helpful on your team, is finding someone like that who's been through it, who can help give you real life answers and recommendations. All right, third piece of advice is lifestyle management, especially if you've just been diagnosed. What that means is there are some things you can do just throughout the day for your life and your lifestyle that's going to help prevent a future prolapse or prevent more prolapse and help you heal that pelvic floor. These include things like, one, not becoming constipated. It is very important with a prolapse that you keep yourself regular and that you are not sitting on the toilet having to push to go to the bathroom. That's actually very important. So I want you to do whatever you need to stay hydrated, keep yourself regular with voiding, make sure that you're not sitting on the toilet too long. Like many times I'll give myself kind of a timeline. I'll say, okay, if this isn't done or if I haven't started within 30 seconds of sitting down, I'm gonna get back up and come back to this later. Right? So don't let yourself sit on the toilet for too long. That position is very vulnerable to your pelvic floor. Don't sit and have to push. That is very vulnerable. And I also recommend something like a squatty potty. So getting your feet up when you're going to the bathroom can be very helpful for the pelvic floor. Also, making sure that you're giving yourself pelvic rest throughout the day. So especially after I gave birth, I wanted to wear my babies. I was nursing my babies, so I was carrying them a lot, which was a lot of pressure for my prolapse. So I would just make sure in between those times that I would make myself lay down. I would lay down on the floor and put my feet up on the couch. I would make myself sit down in between cooking dinner and doing other things. It actually can make a really big difference in those early days that you give yourself what we call pelvic rest, okay? Another thing people don't think about very much is two. One is working out and lifting during your cycle. So if you are still cycling, you actually have more vulnerable tissues during that time because of your hormones. So those are the times I would avoid, again, my heavy lifting or my hard workouts and those kind of things. So things like that I want you to think about in those early days when you're trying to give your pelvic floor some rest. Okay, so that's number 3, lifestyle management. The last piece to this is exercise. That is something that was very important to me. It wasn't clear to me what I could do, what I couldn't do. You can still exercise, okay? You can. And depending on where you are in your healing and what grade of prolapse you have, many times you can get back to doing everything that you love and you want to do. There is nothing that I tell women to never do with a prolapse. Like there's nothing I'm gonna tell you right this moment to say you can never do that again, because we're all a little different. For example, some women with a prolapse, once they've hit their kind of management phase, they do great with trampoline jumping. I didn't. I never did. I still can't do that to this day. There's 2 things I cannot do still after surgery: trampoline jump and jump rope. Both of those just make me leak. They don't feel good, to be honest. But not every woman's like that. So that's why I say there's no blanket statement I make to say this is something you can never do. There are certain activities that you either need to build up to carefully, or that you're just going to have to check for yourself once you heal or once you get to management. Those are things like jumping, running, jumping rope, trampoline, anything like that with a lot of impact. The other piece to that is things like crunching, those activities. I know that there are websites out there that say, if you have a prolapse, you can never crunch again. You can never plank again. I'm rolling my eyes if you can't tell. That is not true. Again, it's not a blanket statement. The reason people might say that is because when you have a prolapse, you want to avoid downward pressure. Anything that causes pressure that's going to push the prolapse out more. But the thing is, all of our bodies are different. For me, I could always do abdominal work, but that was because it's my job. It's what I was trained to do. I knew very specifically how to breathe and how to avoid pressure during those motions. But there were some other things like certain arm work that right away I felt the downward pressure, so I just avoided that, okay? So my goal as a physical therapist, if I was working with you, would be to start on the mat with Prolapse safe exercises, teach you how to start working your hips, your pelvic floor, then get you upright, teaching you squats, lunges. Those things are important. If anyone tells you never to do those, then they're not working with your Prolapse specifically or correctly, in my opinion, because we need to be able to squat to live. Getting on and off the toilet is a squat. So I want to teach you how to do that safely to protect your pelvic floor. So that's what I say and what I mean with exercises. It really can be person dependent, but I want you to keep hope. My life during those 7 years before my surgery was always to focus on what I could do instead of what I couldn't do. I found things that did work me. I found things I loved. I found things that really challenged me and excited me, and I didn't focus on what I couldn't do. And that's the important thing to remember. 1, keep hope. 2, focus on what you can do. Remember, you'll have your body back. Surround yourself with a team of people to support you. And then I'll also have a link below to my Prolapse workout calendar. So I do have a 4-week Prolapse workout calendar that I highly recommend if you've just been diagnosed or you're just getting into exercise after a prolapse. This is going to give you 4 weeks of progressive, safe exercises to help you really feel confident and strong again. I hope all that information helped. Thank you for stopping by. You can check out other resources I have. And remember, I promise, things can get better. Talk to you soon. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please like, comment, and subscribe to be notified when I have new videos that come out. You can find more, including my exclusive unlimited community with full-length workouts, a workout calendar, recipes, and more over at jessicavalantpilates.com. Join our unlimited program. I would love to see you there.